Sports professor Rick Horrow with Beyond the Scoreboard, the serious show that doesn't take itself much too seriously. We have a lot of interesting ground to cover. Major League Baseball's last week of its season before the season starts shifting into the playoffs. NASCAR a couple weeks into the playoffs, and the PGA Tour finishing its playoffs, shifting into the Ryder Cup. NFL Week 3, Week 4, concussion protocol, significant injuries, college football better than ever. A lot of issues revolve around facilities and out with the old, in with the new. Dateline Vegas, their NHL expansion team, announced it'll stop future sales for its inaugural season in 17-18, according to the Vegas Review-Journal, because ticket demand was surpassed and the expectations of many after the team received 16,000 sold. Waiting for it's been established, the fans can place deposits, 17,500 seats in the T-Mobile Arena, but Bill Foley, pleased with the city's demand for tickets thus far, and now turns his attention toward building a business, marketing, and sales staff for his team. Speaking of arenas, the Detroit Red Wings making a bold investment with their new facility, Little Caesars Arena, nowhere near as bold and as audacious as the investment in the 50-block downtown development. According to Sports Business Journal, the total investment in the arena and adjacent space, about $1.5 to $2 billion. Going a little farther west, the Warriors finally ready to start building their new arena. Following a few delays, the Chase Center scheduled for construction in the Mission Bay District. Warriors President and CEO Rick Welts hoping to break ground early next year. Not taking anything for granted, says Wells. It's a process. One of the most important things that happened is that people sued. They reached an agreement, spent a lot of time negotiating an agreement that regulates traffic. The bottom line is this. The arena's doing really well, looking like they're ready to move forward in a lot of different contexts. We have a great show today. The Packers, the only community-owned team in the NFL, and frankly, they wouldn't be around if it wasn't for revenue sharing. We'll have Mark Murphy, the president of the Packers, talk about that. And looking back, in an interview we did with Gary Bettman a few months ago, talking about his aspirations and progress for the 2016-17 season. Well, it's right here, so we'll get a chance to compare. Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard. Be back in just a couple of minutes.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number.
Call 877-499-MY-TV.
The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money.
Call 877-499-MY-TV.
Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $24.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $24.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card.
Call 877-499-MY-TV. That's 877-499-MY-TV.
Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more.
Call now, 877-499-MY-TV. That's 877-499-MY-TV.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-222-2313 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-222-2313. That's 800-222-2313. 800-222-2313. Cancellation fee may apply. Subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit TocoWarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
Sometimes what you want most from your car is nothing. No headaches, no surprises, no anxiety when it's late at night and you're on some distant freeway in a thunderstorm. Owning a certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz can be that anxiety-free experience on every level. You know you're in one of the safest and most thoughtfully engineered vehicles on the road. And with an unlimited mileage warranty, you can drive as far as you want for up to 3 years, with roadside assistance included. Your sense of confidence and adventure are as unlimited as the warranty itself. Now you can drive the car of your dreams and realize that nothing is everything. And during the certified pre-owned sales event, now through August 31st, you can receive 2 years of complimentary prepaid maintenance and 0.99% APR financing on select models, available through Mercedes-Benz Financial Services. You've waited long enough.
See your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for complete details and limitations on certified pre-owned warranties. APR offer available only to qualified customers. Call 1-800-FOR-Mercedes for details about costs and terms.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard. A lot to cover today, and let's talk about football. But it's also much more than football. It's community development. It's how a small team in an amazing market can perpetuate its brand. Packers, by the way, in the smallest market in America to have a pro sports franchise, yet ranked 25th worldwide as far as value, according to Forbes, at $1.95 billion. 42% increase over last year. 13 championships, 4 Super Bowls, Titletown, USA, and emulated all over the world. How's it done? Mark Murphy, president of the Packers, tells us.
Rick Horrow, Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin. This is one of the, if not the most iconic franchises for those of you, international audience, in the world, let alone iconic franchises in the National Football League. Forbes came out with their valuation of franchises around the world, and the Packers came in at 25th, not just in the NFL, clearly they're higher, they're 10th in the NFL according to that same measuring stick, but 25th out of 50 global franchises. So when you think about it, Green Bay, Wisconsin is in the same area awareness, economic par with Rome, with Paris, with franchises in Madrid, and it's incredible. And the current steward, and I mean that exactly as I said it once you find out the organizational structure, CEO Mark Murphy. Mark, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Welcome to Green Bay.
Well, it's really.
This is a nice time of year to be in Green Bay.
Well, it's by the way, it's one of the few summer days we have in Green Bay here, and it'll be great. So if
no frozen tundra.
By the way, Mark has invited me to play golf with him on January 15th here. I don't understand why he said that. I think it'll be fairly evident in the next few weeks. But so, describe for an international audience the difference between your position as CEO and who you report to versus the other other 31 teams in the NFL.
Yeah, every other team in the NFL, every other team in all professional sports in the United States, are owned by a single owner or a group of owners. But the Packers are owned by the community. The roots go back to the 1920s when wanted to make sure that the team stayed in Green Bay, so they had a series of stock sales, and had our fifth one in 2011. So we have 370,000 shareholders. As by the way, I understand you're one.
We'll be talking about that in a minute.
So let me know. You're my boss.
Yeah.
So if there's anything you'd like to do, let me know.
Maybe we'll see.
So I'm president, but so we don't have an owner, but we can't send 370,000 shareholders to the owners' meetings. So I represent the Packers at the owners' meetings, and my wife calls me a faux owner. So I'm an owner without the money. Is that what she says?
Yeah, but it's interesting. But you have the same administrative responsibilities as a president or chief executive officer of any of the other 31 teams in the NFL.
Yeah, the other presidents report to a single owner, and I report to shareholders, and of which there's a board of 45 active members, and then a number of committees, but most importantly, including an executive committee of 7, including myself. And that, I'd say the executive committee, along with our senior administration, really make the major decisions for the Packers.
And the other interesting dynamic of this is that the NFL is effectively a private corporation for those of you internationally, and it has 32 equal members, and one of those has public reporting requirements. So when the press basically wants to find out about numbers, revenue, and expenses from NFL teams, they can get the Packers numbers and use it as a measuring stick around the rest of the NFL.
Yeah, no, and it always comes out. We release our financial statements usually early July, and the national media, especially when we're like in the middle of collective bargaining or there's some issues at a league level, a lot of interest in it. But, I think it shows the uniqueness of our organization. The other thing I'd say, Rick, in addition to our ownership structure, the other thing that's so unique about it is that we're such a small community. It's by far the smallest market in the NFL, not even close. Buffalo is the second smallest, and they're quite a bit bigger. But then also, I would say our history and tradition. We've won more championships than any other team in the NFL, 13, and so it's a number of different things. And then quite honestly, you mentioned at the intro, Lambeau Field. Lambeau Field is iconic, and it's becoming more and more of an attraction. I don't know if it's because we play so many national games, and the national media is great. Bob Costas standing up and saying, if you're ever going to go to an NFL game, you got to go to Lambeau Field. It's such a great experience. But we set a record last year. Actually, previous record was the year following our Super Bowl victory. We had 135,000 people take tours. But this past year, we had 175,000 people take tours of Lambeau Field.
Oh, you won a Super Bowl? Oh, you won 4 Super Bowls and 13 NFL championships, I think is the right answer. So when Mark talks about legacy, he really means it. And he may call himself a faux owner. I'm a faux journalist. I forgot to tell you that if you hang on to this entire broadcast, which you should, we're really talking about the economics not only of a publicly owned, community-owned company, but also how it impacts by far the smallest town in the National Football League and its region, 104,057 according to the last census. And Mayor Schmidt, who will be on after Mark, knows every one of those people personally, which is one of the reasons why he's been elected for 45 or 46 straight terms. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But it is an amazing, incredible combination. So when you're at NFL owners' meetings and you vote as the governor like the other 31, do they look at you differently? Do they look at you and say, here's the guy without money?
It's funny. Before I went to my first owners meeting, I've been in my position about almost 9 years. I wondered, what are those meetings like? Because especially having played in the league and then being involved in the Players Association, I always kind of wondered what it was like. But it's really not. It's not that much different than any other meetings or business meetings. But in terms of how the Packers are viewed, I think there's an awareness that we're kind of different, and I especially noticed it during when we had the stock sale in 2011. We had to get approval from the owners, and so we kind of went through the stock sale and what we anticipated, what we'd use the money that we raised for. And during the middle of it, Jerry Jones stood up and said, "Mark, can you explain to us how that works?"
No.
It's like, that's a pretty good idea. I'd like to do it. I said, well, no, this is the only, because we're the only ones that could have a stock sale like this. But it works well for us. The other thing I would say, I think because of the success that the Packers have had, primarily on the field, but also off the field, we're by far the smallest market, but the last 3 years in a row now, we've been number 9 in the league in terms of total revenue. Right. So even though we're a small market, we've been able to generate revenue at a fairly high level. That I think there's a level of respect for the Packers within the room.
Talk about that for a second, then we'll get back to the stock specifics. Television contract, about $5 billion, 4.4 to $5 billion annually. Mm-hmm. It's a lot bigger than the MLBs or the NBAs, but even more important, that is shared equally among the 32 teams.
Yep.
And so that number, and if I'm right, it's the visiting team share at 40%, the home team at 60%. Effectively, ticket sales and television are shared almost equally, if not equally, relative to the splits.
Yeah.
And so if that didn't happen, there'd be no Green Bay Packers. There'd be Packers.
Going back,
else.
there's no question the league's revenue sharing model has been very, very positive for the Packers. And to me, it's the biggest advantage that the NFL has as a league. We've got a revenue sharing model that works. We've got a salary cap. We've got a relationship with our Players Association that works very well. So we're very fortunate. The league is popularity of the game is pretty remarkable, especially in terms of television. I forget exactly, but 2 or 3 years ago, I think of the 35 highest-rated television programs, 34 were NFL
what was the other
games.
I
think it was the Academy Awards. But
that
so
terrible. That year the Academy Awards scored. But it's an interesting perspective, and it's stabilized. And when
Rick Horrow will be back with you in just a couple of minutes.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for prescription drugs? Well, we have great news. Now you can finally get prescription drugs at huge discounts from Canada Drug Center. That's right, the most popular drugs for cholesterol, high blood pressure, depression, diabetes, arthritis, and many more are now up to 75% off. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices when you can get brand name drugs at the lowest price? Call today and get up to 75% off all the popular brand name prescription drugs. Never pay high prices again. Get the most popular drugs at huge savings from our Canadian and international pharmacies and fulfillment centers. No insurance? No problem. Prices are so low you do not need benefits or insurance to get all your prescriptions fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting to take your call now. Order today and get free shipping. Just call 800-950-1180. Up to 75% off all the popular brand name prescription drugs and free shipping. Call 800-950-1180. That's 800-950-1180.
$100 million in jury verdicts and settlements for serious injury victims, medical malpractice victims, and surviving family members of wrongful death victims. Trial Lawyers for Justice. This is a firm that does not handle frivolous lawsuits. They go after insurance company money, and they're darn good at it. They don't sell their clients out or settle cheaply. Trial Lawyers for Justice, the firm that goes the distance for you, their client. They treat their clients the way you would want your own family members taken care of. Nicholas Rowley, Dominic Pachota, and the other trial lawyers in the firm at Trial Lawyers for Justice, dedicated to representing the people and their families in Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, Illinois, California, Wyoming, and many other states. Trial Lawyers for Justice. $100 million in settlements and jury verdicts already in 2016. 888-811-0844. TL4J.com. Trial Lawyers for Justice.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now, 800-480-5708. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-480-5708. That's 800-480-5708. Again, 800-480-5708.
Beyond the Scoreboard, serious show that doesn't take itself too seriously. Mark Murphy, President and CEO of the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah. It's talk a little bit about Twitter and social media and all the things that the NFL is trying to do to increase revenue, knowing that this is basically reality television, and it's the only real reality television left.
Yeah, the league has taken a lot of steps in recent years to reach out, to have more ways for fans to engage with them. Going back, it was started a number of years ago, but it's really starting to bear fruit, particularly now as the NFL Network.
Yeah.
24 hours a day, year round. We just did an experiment with Twitter, and and you're going to have to bear with me here. I'm not up on all the terms, but it was an over-the-top broadcast. So
that's a good start. Keep going.
And but what was good about it, so it was we wanted to see what it was like, and what that really does. And this kind of ties into another big initiative for the league is the international. Yeah. So when you're on broadcast networks or cable. The time it's really just in the United States. But and it was a London game last year, was broadcast live on the internet and over the top broadcast, and it really opened up the world. And so
not
the game's
the world's best game.
Jaguars and Buffalo.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a Bills fan now. I grew up in Buffalo. Come on.
I know, but it was still.
Yeah.
And the Jaguars played pretty well in the second half. Yeah. But still.
But I think they had 17 million people. Yeah. So it was. And because of the game, I think it was an afternoon game in London, prime time in Asia. You had it really opened up the NFL to a very broad market. So I think you're going to see a lot of changes in the coming years. In terms of media, and also a much bigger push to have more games international.
And you're going to start learning a few other words like TriCast and appealing to the short cutters, right?
Yeah.
Because the bottom line of what
and
happens
it's all driven by the millennials.
Yeah, there you go. It's got that whole combination.
Well, the league was really smart with the Thursday. Yeah. So we did long-term deals with Fox, CBS, NBC. And for the traditional Sunday broadcast, Sunday night, Monday night, and then we kept the Thursday kind of to experiment, and I think it's really been beneficial.
And NFL Network and then CBS, NBC split.
Yeah, and this year it's going to be split, like you said, a TriCast. It's going to be CBS, NBC, NFL Network, and Twitter.
Yeah.
So you're going to. I can't even tell you what it's going to. There's 18 games, and they're splitting it up, but it's really pretty progressive thinking on the league's part to get as much exposure as possible.
Hard-hitting former NFL defensive back, now turning television maven, ladies and gentlemen. Who really can do that perspective. Internationally, Roger Goodell challenged his staff to generate $25 billion in annual revenue by the end of the labor agreement. He may or may not make it, but no matter if he gets close, that's pretty good. Internationally,
to put in perspective, we're at 12 now.
Yeah, I
and
understand.
we've got 5 years to go on this.
5 years, way to go, but everybody wakes up. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
So internationally, team in Mexico, team in London, where's that all shake out?
Excuse me, that's a good question. We've had great success in London.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Packers have not played there yet.
Yeah.
So I would be hung in effigy, or I would actually not even effigy. I'd be hung if we took a home game out of Green Bay. I mean, it means so much. Home games mean so much to the market here that we would never give up a home game. But then the other thing is our fans travel so well to away games that teams that are going to be playing a game against the Packers in their stadiums don't want to give up a game against the Packers. Yeah. So we haven't been able to, and there's been a couple other franchises that I know the league wants to get.
It's hard being an international icon.
Yeah,
you want to hear, basically.
So every game in London is sold out. I mean, it's highly successful. I just think in terms of having a franchise there, I think there are some pretty major logistical issues that need to be worked out.
But time to do it.
Oh yeah,
ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, I think how does it work? What's it look like? We're going to have a game in Mexico City this year, regular season game, and then 2018 there'll be a regular season game in China. So we're moving in that direction.
And the teams who don't have the iconic and cultural commitment to all of those home games, they're the ones that volunteer. So I know the Rams are opening up in China. I don't know if it's officially announced, but that's the...
Well, what the league can do, under the league policy, there's a couple different situations. If you're playing in a temporary stadium, like the Rams are, the league can require you to play an international game. I think if you've hosted a Super Bowl, the same thing. It's because they want to have a number of international games, and I'm not sure there's finding enough teams willing to give up the home games is a challenge.
So the other piece of this too is, Real Madrid just cut that $1.6 billion 10-year kit deal with Adidas, and are you jealous that why not us? When are we going to start? We have opportunities to do logos on practice jerseys? When are we going to do it for real? Is that a revenue source in the foreseeable future or not?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I think, particularly at the league level, we're tracking. I think the NBA is starting to move in that direction. I think there's always and it's a healthy tension between generating revenue and the football side, doing what's right for the game of football. I do, quite honestly, worry a little bit about overexposure. But, the ratings continue to be very strong. But, it's just we have a lot of games, and they're a lot on on prime time. But as long as the public continues to watch, I think we'll be continuing to offer them.
And they do. Let's shift back just for a few minutes to me being your boss. So I got this in the mail.
And by the way, I think you missed a deadline.
Well, but all right. You know what? It's going to be irrelevant because I've opened it before, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. But I think I'm still going to be okay. So here's the deal.
That's your biggest right. Your biggest right is to vote at the annual meeting.
I know who I'm voting for. So here's the deal. There's no equity, ladies and gentlemen. You can't resell. There are basically no extended voting rights. You can vote at the annual meeting, but only for the slate that's provided for you. There's no securities law protection. And more important than anything else, there is a waiting list of 86,000 people and no season ticket privileges. So I want you to know.
I hate to tell you, the waiting list has gone up to 128,000.
Because I'm getting a lawyer anyway. I am getting a lawyer before I open this up. Seriously, it is a testament to an interesting gift, but it's also a testament to symbolizing how important the Packers are to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen so many pictures people send me. It's a source of pride. They hang the certificates up in usually in their man caves or in their basement. I should say fan cave.
Fan cave. Man or woman cave. Nobody can hold more than 200,000 shares?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that correct? So you don't have a monopoly there. As of last, you still have some outstanding shares, or have they all been sold?
Everything's been sold, and as I said before, any stock sale in the future has to be approved by the league. I mean, that's the concern with the league is, well, other teams can't do it. No. If we had stock sales every year, we could use that to give ourselves a competitive advantage. So and the last one, we used that for our south end zone expansion. So all the money that was raised went right into the stadium.
Well, speaking of expansion, but first, before the whole stadium issue, which is really important to kind of end on thematically, 1919 is your 100th year anniversary. What are you doing special?
We've got a special committee. We've got a number of different. If I told you, I would be in. Yeah, I wouldn't.
But it's got to be big.
Yeah, I'd be in trouble.
It's got to be big.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we got that, and then there have been, as far as I could tell, 8 or 9 expansions of Lambeau since you originally started it, and you played at Bellevue Park and Hagemeister Park, and those are not relevant because that was back in 1921. At least I've done my history. Yeah. But you've had effectively large expansions, including the one I was lucky enough to work on in the early 2000s, where you really spent $150 million or so of Brown County tax money. We'll talk to the mayor about that as well. Yeah. But this is not a stadium. It's a museum. In a way. It's really a public-private partnership.
Well, you're right. Well, the 2003 renovation really changed Lambeau Field from a facility that was just used on 10 days a year for the home games, the regular season and preseason, to now it's used year round. With the atrium here and the meeting space we have, we had over 700 events last year. And the decision was made in the early 90s to play all the games here. And just from talking to people, I think it was hard on the players, on coaches. It was 3 games a year in Milwaukee, but it was like having additional road games. Plus, with the big investment that we've made now in Lambeau Field, I think it just made sense to have everything here.
So he's a hero in Green Bay. He's predicted off camera a Super Bowl championship by 1919 for the 100th. No, he didn't. But he is an icon.
That would be very nice, though, if we. But I would want one before then.
Before then, too, clearly, and you have the team that has the capability of doing it too. Obviously, what's next for Mark Murphy? How long are you doing this?
I just turned 61, but really enjoy doing it, and it's such a unique organization, and as long as I'm healthy, contributing to improving the organization, I'd be happy to keep doing it.
Well, I'm really excited that I've nuzzled up to Mark Murphy today in this interview, and so Can I get some more equity in that?
Why don't you give me this and I'll vote for it?
I get equity.
The shareholder meeting was in July.
July. I'm burning this, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know anything. So no equity. I can't resell.
You get discounts at the pro shop.
At the pro shop
on special shareholder apparel.
Team playing? No team playing.
No tickets.
No tickets. Nothing. All right. Well, you know what? We're done. What we're going to do is to thank Mark Murphy for this perspective.
Mark Murphy, President and CEO of the Green Bay Packers. By the way, I'm getting a lawyer because I own a share. And as I said, no equity, can't resell, no voting rights, no securities law protections, but you get to own a piece of the Packers. That's part of the mystique. A really interesting, outstanding, and unique opportunity to explore sports in its finest. Next up, we'll talk about hockey.
And now, today's General Steel building tip. Buy a large lot with a friend or family member that can be split into 2 smaller lots. Some of the most appealing properties may be much larger than what you want or can afford. Yet the seller may not be willing to break up a large parcel. So if you can share the costs with someone else, preferably someone you don't mind having as a neighbor, you may be able to pick up a great building site for a reasonable price. And now, a word from General Steel.
This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. A General Steel building can save you as much as half the cost and time of similar conventional construction. And we're offering rebates of up to $20,000 to help you build today. Call General Steel for free information that could save you thousands. Call 866-95-STEEL. 866-95-STEEL. That's 866-95-STEEL.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 877-663-7126 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 877-663-7126 to take your call now. Call 877-663-7126. That's 877-663-7126. Again, 877-663-7126.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-222-2313 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-222-2313. That's 800-222-2313. 800-222-2313. Cancellation fee may apply. Subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit TocoWarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
Beyond the Scoreboard, serious show that doesn't take itself too seriously, but we have a guest who's been a friend of mine and a friend of the show for a long time, our debut episode. He talked a lot about his goals and objectives for the National Hockey League. It's Gary Bettman, the longest tenured commissioner in major sports since 1993. Cornell and NYU Law alum, 2014 SBJ Executive of the Year. He talked a lot about one of his best accomplishments is to put in place the process for the World Cup of Hockey. Well, we're in the middle of it, and Gary Bettman had a chance to review that when I was with him in Toronto this last week. But let's hear again, 6 months ago, what Gary Bettman thought about hockey and the business. Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the National Hockey League. Debut show. Can't think of anybody better to be my debut guest on my debut show. The dean of all commissioners, good friend, NHL commissioner, fantastic entrepreneur, and got to be the best commissioner in sports, Gary Bettman.
That's awfully wordy. How about we just get down to the substance? Congratulations on your new show.
Thank you, sir. Do you remember the song I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston?
Yes, I do.
Well, let me tell you why it's important. When you were appointed as commissioner February 193, that was the song that was number one on the charts. It makes us feel both old, doesn't it?
Actually, in the quiet moments when you and I together, you sing it to me on a regular basis.
You are a senior statesman in the league and senior statesman in sports. And when you went to Cornell undergrad and you were just getting through your career, did you ever think that you'd ever be running a $4 billion hockey operation and be the longest-standing commissioner in the sport and longest-standing commissioner in North American sports?
Well, you know, the answer to that question is very easy. If I were to say yes, you'd either think I was lying or insane. But the fact of the matter is no. You know, I went to Cornell. I was in the School of Industrial and Labor Relations, had a wonderful, wonderful undergraduate experience there, went to NYU Law School, and went to one of the big New York firms. I had started out to be a lawyer. I was always a hockey fan. I was always a sports fan. But I never imagined that this is what things would turn into. I think the most important thing for any commissioner, and it's something that I learned both as a lawyer at a big New York firm and working for David Stern, is you've got to be thoroughly prepared. There's no substitute for hard work and preparation and knowing the subject matter that you're dealing with. The great news about being in sports, particularly being at the NHL, is you have an opportunity to forge relationships with wonderful people, and that is what makes the job exciting, stimulating, and fun.
All right, you can do it. Give me your 30-second elevator speech assessment of the overall health of the game.
The game itself, what the players do night in and night out, has been nothing short of spectacular. Our competitive balance is probably the best, not only in our history, but in all professional sports, and you're witnessing that in these incredible playoffs. And the business of the game has never been stronger, never been bigger, and that's a testament, first and foremost, to having the best fans in all of sports.
All right, let's get specific. Let's talk about TV. You got a couple of Game 7s. You got a weekend to yourself. NBC TV is happy. Rogers is happy. Canada is happy. International is happy. What's up with TV?
Television's good. It's making everybody happy. The coverage of the game, particularly in the United States, has never been more extensive. NBC does a phenomenal job, both principally on NBC and on the NBC Sports Network. And in the early stages of the playoffs, they use their other outlets to ensure, for the first time in our history over the last 3-4 years, that every game of the playoffs is televised on a national basis in the United States. Their promotion, their coverage, everything they do is first rate, and it's brought the game to more people in the United States than ever before. In Canada, you know, we are the preeminent television property, and Rogers is doing a phenomenal job giving fans wall-to-wall coverage. We are very fortunate to have two great partners for our national packages, both in Canada and the United States.
Well, let's talk about Canada. You've got three of the top teams net worth-wise. You've got enlightened management, exchange rate coming around. You got good play. How have you turned it around in Canada?
Well, first of all, we don't pay a whole lot of attention to the Forbes numbers on the valuations because they don't have access to the financials of any of the clubs. It's a bit of a shot in the dark. I suppose, if anything, it shows trending, and the trending is that franchise values are higher than they've ever been. When people focus on our game, when you look at it in Canada, there's nothing comparable, I think, for any sport anywhere in the world to the relationship that our Canadian fans have to our game. It's almost breathtaking to see that level of connection. And while we have great fans throughout the world and great fans, avid fans, I think more avid than any other sport in the United States, the fact is our fan base isn't as large as a percentage of the population in the U.S. as it is in Canada, but the fan base is growing. It's growing day by day. And that's a testament to the fans we have, to new technology, to what NBC has been doing, and what we do with our sponsors and business partners.
Which is more important to you, the fact that the revenue was about $400 million when you took over in '93 to nearly $4 billion now, that franchises are worth nearly $500 million now, up 20%, or that you've had labor peace since 2005?
I have a saying that drives people crazy around here, that everything's related to everything else. The fact is, we were in '93 a little over $400 million. We're approaching roughly $4 billion. Do the math. We've been talking about what the cap is likely to be. So, it's in that ballpark. But the fact of the matter is, everything starts with the health of the game on the ice. And we have a system that works, that creates incredible competitive balance, that gives fans of whatever team you want to root for the hope that your team can make the playoffs, and every team has that hope. And once you make the playoffs, anything can happen, and that's what we're witnessing. We're getting better. We're better able to connect fans to the game. We're getting more exposure and promotion, particularly in the United States, than ever before. And so all the pieces of the puzzle are important when you're growing the game and the business of the game.
Is 30 teams too many, or just about right?
All of our teams are in the best shape they've ever been in. Couples still have some work to do, but our ownership situation is the strongest. Franchises are the most stable they've ever been. We're getting expressions of interest from a number of places, most notably Seattle, Las Vegas, and Quebec City. We're listening to the expressions of interest. We haven't decided that we're going to do anything necessarily with expansion. We're not even in a formal expansion process. We're just continuing to listen to the expressions of interest.
And by the way, I remember from the days when you were with the NBA and we were working hard on trying to get an NBA franchise in Miami, which you successfully helped us do. When you say X, it's not X minus, it's not X minus 3, it is X. And people ought to understand that about Gary Bettman. Let's talk international. You expanding, obviously, across the pond, but what about the Olympics? What's your process today?
We haven't given much thought to the Olympic process. We're currently focused on bringing back the World Cup, which we'll do in September of 2016, and that'll be a great tournament. We do international efforts, events, in conjunction with the Players Association. We're joint ventures in doing that. And over the last few years, until Don Fehr took over the union as executive director, there was a lot of instability, so we weren't able to pursue many of the initiatives that we wanted to. Now that the union is stabilized, we're working together, and I think the World Cup will be the foundation that's our jumping-off point for doing a whole lot of other things. We're a sport with a great history and tradition relative to international play and international competition, more so than perhaps any of the other North American sports leagues. Roughly 25% of our players, some of the most elite players in the world, come from outside of North America. And we're going to make sure that our reach continues to grow outside of North America.
You're known as a franchise bulldog. You save franchises that are worth saving. You'll go to bat for those markets like Phoenix, but it doesn't always work. Look at Atlanta going to Winnipeg. In that context, what about the Florida Panthers?
Florida's in a rebuild. There were some fundamental things that had to be addressed and fixed. And the good news is, under Vinny Viola's ownership, the commitment and the resources are there to put the right things in place. The team is more competitive than it's been in some time, and the response from the community has been quite strong.
So, which criticism do you find most unfair, even if it's inaccurate, that you've attempted to Americanize the game to the detriment of Canada, or that you expand into the Sun Belt at the expense of more traditional hockey markets in Canada or the northern U.S.?
You know, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to that. The fact of the matter is we're trying to make the game stronger, bigger, everywhere it is. And, you know, the fact is I was instrumental in instituting the Canadian Assistance Program in the late 90s, early 2000s when there were problems with the Canadian franchises. We want the game strong wherever it is. And, you know, we're excited about the future prospects of our game everywhere, but we focus foremost on the places where we are, which are Canada and the United States, and whatever else we may do, including worldwide, we know where the priority is.
So if you were commissioner for a day and you could wave a magic... you are commissioner for longer than a day. So if you wave a magic wand and you didn't have to worry about building consensus, what major change would you make?
I don't know. I mean, the fact of the matter is that's fantasy land. There are no magic wands. Things require consensus. There's no magic bullets in anything. It's all about hard work. It's a great time to be a hockey fan, and that's what drives me more than anything else.
Just a couple more. So, are you traveling less and enjoying life more?
Traveling lots and enjoying life. I love what I do. And while travel's part of what I do, it's not something that I find to be unduly burdensome. It's fun to get out, see how organizations present their games in their own arenas, to interact with fans everywhere we go. That's part of the fun of what I get to do.
Where is Gary Bettman 5 years from now?
If I feel the way I do today, I think there's a song that goes like that, I'll still be doing the same thing. I love what I do. It's fun, it's interesting, it's a great challenge, and there are great opportunities. And as long as the Board of Governors is happy with me and I have the same level of interest and energy and commitment, then we'll keep doing this.
Thanks for doing the debut show with me.
Thanks for having me, and good luck.
Gary Bettman has a lot to say, clearly, about the business of hockey, and when you look at the values of franchises, the Rangers worth $1.2 billion, and the Canadians right behind it, the Leafs right behind that, the Blackhawks and the Bruins. Big-time deals all over, but even at the bottom end, there's a lot of work to be done. The Panthers, the Coyotes, the Hurricanes bring up the rear. He understands what the challenges are. Television contract, international, the Vegas expansion team. A lot has happened in those 6 months. Certainly, Gary Bettman takes the credit, as well he should. Rick Horrow will be back with Bust, Boom, and Hope in just a couple of minutes.
We all know healthcare has changed drastically. It's quite the puzzle to sort through your options and find a health insurance plan that's affordable and maximizes your benefits. And you're now required by law to have health insurance, or you may pay a tax penalty. So let the Health Markets Insurance Agency help you. They offer plans from over 120 different companies and can even help you obtain government subsidies. Let them do all the research for you and show you how affordable health insurance can be, a service that's at no extra cost to you. Call now and learn your options to find affordable health insurance. 800-614-1242. 800-614-1242. 800-614-1242. 800-614-1242. Health Markets Insurance Agency is a DBA or assumed name of Insphere Insurance Solutions, Inc., which is a licensed insurance agency in all 50 states and D.C. Not all agents are licensed to sell all products. Service availability varies by state.
Attention, if you've had hip replacement surgery and suffered any complications, you need to listen to this important legal alert. Major manufacturers have made billions of dollars available to award legal claims for defective hip implants. Thousands of these defective hip implants have been recalled by various manufacturers. If you've had hip surgery and suffered complications, you may be entitled to receive significant compensation to help you deal with your complications. You may be eligible to receive money to help with medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. Protect yourself by hiring an experienced trial attorney. Our partner law firms are experts in hip replacement surgery lawsuits. Find out now if you're eligible to receive any of the $2.5 billion hip settlement fund. Call now for free information. 800-296-1360. 800-296-1360. 800-296-1360. That's 800-296-1360.
Fanatics.com is the place to get your favorite licensed college football fan gear. It's also the place to win the hottest bowl tickets for the season. Pull out your phone and Shazam this ad now for your chance to win an all-inclusive bowl game experience for two. Plus $250 to deck yourself out in officially licensed gear from Fanatics. Inside, you'll also find Fanatics merchandise, apps, and more. If you want to be on the sidelines of the biggest bowl games, Shazam now. If you're a sports fan and you love your team, you gotta check out Fanatics.com. Fanatics is the best place for fan gear from the most trusted brands. Authentic fan gear from the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and NCAA college football and basketball. Jerseys, hoodies, t-shirts, hats, collectibles, and more. It's the world's largest collection of official fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and players you love. Everything officially licensed. Go to Fanatics.com for gear and show love for your teams this season. Fanatics. Love never loses.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard. Time in the show every week to talk about bust, boom, and hope. The troublesome, the creative, and the really good in the economy. Obviously, big-time stuff in sports, always through the playoffs, and this week is no exception. So let's start with bust. Following months of negotiations, dozens of legal filings, and several hearings, the Vikings are allowing Wells Fargo to keep limited signage near U.S. Bank Stadium. The settlement, mostly confidential, filed in U.S. District Court. The case escalated last year when the Vikings took Wells Fargo to court, citing they were attempting to photobomb the image of U.S. Bank Stadium to be broadcast around the world, especially during the 2018 Super Bowl. Multiple documents in the courtroom, the Vikings said Wells Fargo was allowed to have painted signs on the roofs, but they couldn't be elevated or illuminated. Those close to the case noted the Vikings won, but obviously a lot of controversy. How about boom? After beating number 13 Iowa 23-21, FCS powerhouse North Dakota State faced with an unexpected problem. The Bison having a tough time finding FBS teams that'll play them. The win over Iowa marks the fifth Power 5 conference that the team has beaten since 2010, and the coach says he's acknowledged it's difficult finding appealing FBS opponents. The irony is that the university, North Dakota State, actually fiscally benefits from playing FBS teams. The Bison earned $500,000 from playing Iowa, not to mention awareness and excitement all over the country. And finally, how about hope? Yeah, Tim Tebow. He signed a bridge agreement with the official jersey sponsor Majestic Athletic last week to sell his number 15 Mets jersey. MLB teams usually not allowed to use a player's name or image until he makes the 40-man Major League roster, and those players not considered part of the union. But Tebow's popularity caused the league to make an exception for the former NFL quarterback. Mets Executive Director of Communications Harold Kaufman said there are currently no Tebow items being sold at Citi Field. Bridge agreements like the one Tebow signed, very rare across the MLB, typically held only for players expected to make a Major League roster. Well, we all understand Tim Tebow is not run-of-the-mill and not ordinary. Well, that's it for our show. We'd like to thank Mark Murphy, who runs the Green Bay Packers, and Gary Bettman, who runs the National Hockey League, for their perspective on what has been an incredible week of sports, and no doubt will be next week once again we go beyond the scoreboard.